all three of which were against the rules, but
Can
I loved all of them.
we give them like the bad boy award for breaking the
Yeah,
rules?
most like stupidest way of breaking the rules. I'm open.
I'm open.
I'm
I'm
open.
open.
Hey,
Welcome
hey,
to I'm open.
subscribe.
Hello.
Subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
Hit that
Subscribe to
button.
our channel.
Subscribe
Please.
now.
Subscribe.
Do it.
Okay.
Please do it.
Welcome to the subscribe podcast, the I'm Open podcast. There were again like 13 games this week, so we got to talk about only the good ones, and then we got to make tiers. What does that mean?
I don't know. Andrew
You
was
just
just doing
copied.
it, so I copied Andrew.
I was
Alright.
pointing at Bold and
That's
Brash.
Squidward.
I was thinking maybe you were doing like a pointing to a subscribe button, and so I
Oh,
was
we
like,
could put one there
I'll
in
do that
post.
too.
We can put one there in post.
Can we? Do we have the capability to know how to do that?
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely
for sure
not.
not.
It's like
Anyway.
here. Wait, no, I'm gonna fuck it.
Subscribe anyway.
Everyone point a different direction, and then one of us
Hit
will
the
get
subscribe right here.
it. All right,
Bing.
let's get into it.
Yeah. All right.
Good week.
While we pull that up, I just want to shout out our media department, and by media department, I assume it was mostly Sam. Some fire stuff in the just like reels and whatever
Going
that
off,
Maddie,
Sam.
that
We
Maddie
did, we
Jackson
did.
video is wonderful, like top tier, like quality. The Oscar hat, no hat, like
Yeah, that was really good.
That was clean. That was a clean
Amazing.
graphic.
We
Yeah.
do have insider information from Ryan Osgar himself that he's throwing away all of his hats, so
Mhm.
you will not see him in a hat the rest of the season.
We did a good thing today. Yeah, no, it was a good weekend for content.
was.
But
Let's talk about
now
games.
it's-
Do it.
now we're on to the frisbee part, I guess. So let's start with Shred Summit. That was the first big game of the weekend, and it was the Summit's first loss of the season.
First regular season loss ever.
Damn.
No, wait, no, they
They
lost
lost
that
last
Yeah,
year.
they lost one last
They
year.
lost
Yeah.
it. They dropped
I was
0.
about to say that, and then I didn't say it because I remember.
I also had to go check the standings right before the pod to figure out if they had a loss or not.
Anyway, listen to us because we know what we are talking about.
Kind of.
Yeah. Who's got a statement on the game?
I feel like it's been said a lot of times, but the D-line conversion.
That was the difference for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
yeah, you see it right there.
Hundo
Summit's D line O was spicy. It was really good and consistent. And their
Yeah.
O line D was really good. All of their
Yeah.
defense was really good. Like their defense is fiery. And yeah, I don't know. Like the Summit definitely like biffed some chances on their D line O. I heard their commentators say what was it, like dough line or something? It was funny. Yeah, to me that was like a big difference in the game.
Noticing they start the game with another cut on D and Spicer
Yeah.
on O. I was like, what is going on? And it didn't really like do anything. I thought like someone kind of came out in their like O line that they've been doing where they just kind of work up the field and they only take shots. And then when they did get a D with another cut on the field, there was like not really shots to take. There's one hammer that he missed early that he just left short, which honestly, I don't expect another cut to do that again this year. So that's something to look out for the rest of the season where another cut plays, because another cut on D is kind of spicy, especially with Spicer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I would say seeing Nethercut and Rowan this year on D makes me respect Yacht so much more for still getting really good stats, like still scoring at a pretty high level, on top of playing a lot of D line. So I think that's crazy.
Yeah, I think going back to this game, I think like in my mind, I was trying to figure out why they would do that. I guess it's just like when you're playing the Shred, you know that they're gonna turn it over, and they did. turned it over 13 times. None of them on their D line, obviously. So 13-0 turnovers. And you're just thinking like put Nethercutt there, and he's gonna convert that. But I mean, obviously that didn't happen, and I'm not a fan of the whole switchy thing. I think it's dumb in general. I'm like, if you have a good O line, just let them be.
Yeah, and also it didn't totally work. Like what you said, Sam, on paper, it makes total sense. Like I want like if there's a turn, if we expect there to be a turn, which there were, yeah, it's sick to have Nethercutt like on O suddenly. You don't have to call timeout to like get him on, like that's great. But like that it seems kind of weird that they weren't able to convert on those D line like O possessions. And maybe it's like I don't know. I just feel like players at that level just like maybe chemistry is maybe less of an issue, and if you're good, and you can figure it out and you can work with the other good players. But like, yeah, I mean, maybe it was a kind of a chemistry thing. I don't know, like, but I think maybe it was more so like the Shred just have like really good defense. Like those guys can go up and get it and like get blocks and stuff. And it looked like the Summit got a little trigger happy sometimes, and maybe they were used to like coming down with those more often against like some of the lesser teams in their division. But like, the Shred, those guys will go up and get blocks. Like those guys can fucking play. So
yeah, there were some athletic displays in that game for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's also possible that Nethercutt was never going to play the entire game on D line, and it was more of like a psych out since the Shred and Summit have played a bunch and they're both two good teams. And
yeah,
just like just throw something different and just like hope it doesn't blow up in your face, like even if it was only going to be 3 points or something. But my other thought was like maybe he's out there because they feel more confident about, if you're going to be trigger happy, do it against the Shred's O line instead of the Shred's D line. But again, it doesn't really work when the Shred's O line are just fast and athletic, and like maybe they're worse at defense, but it doesn't really matter unless you're getting a ton of separation against them, which didn't happen a lot.
One thing go ahead, Ryan.
Just looking at these stats, and I was trying to like piece together like the hold percentages and the break percentages, and looking at it, just like I'm like, wait, how did the Summit lose this game? 57% to 50%, yada yada. But then when you add it up, it turns out the Shred on every single end of quarter, they were the ones with the disc and they didn't convert because I think they're 10 for 20 on hold percentages, but the Summit were only 6 for 20 on break percentages, meaning there's 4 points that just ended, and that's how I think it was.
Oh shit.
Which the Summit had possession.
Good deduction there.
The Summit had possession at the end of either the second or the third quarter and didn't convert.
So I think that means that the Shred were on O for every point that ended the game. Right?
Okay, so they were more like 10 for 16 might be more realistic of a hold percentage from them.
I also don't know.
True.
I was just trying to make the numbers make sense. Like how is that hold percentage?
No, that's good. That's good detective work.
Yeah, one of those quarters was kind of controversial on whether they should have had the disc or not, but I don't know, the disc like came down and one of the Shred players like ran over to it and just tried to throw it as fast as they could, but then they said that the Shred had already called timeout, and it was kind of unclear whether there was time between the turnover and the clock stopping for that, but they got it always unclear. Yeah. Also because we don't actually see the right time, like almost ever.
Yeah. Sucks.
But anyway,
one thing I do want to bring out before we move on, to me, this is kind of another one of those games. Like it was very back and forth. It was super evenly matched. Like the Shred went up, the Summit came back, they went ahead, Shred came back, and then like the Summit had all the momentum at the end, and it was like there's kind of this feeling of like, oh man, if there was only like one more minute left, the Summit could like tie this thing up. Like it had that kind of feel. And there was one thing that I think like, maybe the Summit would like to have back was like they turned it on O, and then Atkins kind of just like gave up on the play, and then the Shred broke them. and like there was just like an uncontested deep cut
Yeah,
because
I
like
remember that.
Atkins kind of let up, and the commentators pointed out like they were pretty harsh on Atkins for that. I get it, like they probably would have punched in anyway in reality, but maybe something like that, like that's kind of the difference. Like there was never a moment where the Shred did something like that. Like those guys were just kind of balls to the wall the whole time. And maybe in hindsight, they would have liked to have that back and like maybe, at least make it more close. Because that break was like super easy and it was like late in the game. It was
Yeah.
so I don't know. But that's just one thing. And it's stuff like that that makes me think that like I think the Summit could steal a game on the road from the Shred next time they meet. So like, I still think it's super evenly matched and like anything can happen. And the score reflects that, I think. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were a couple throws in that game that were converted for scores, like 60-yard scores on layouts in the end zone. It's just like you can't expect that to happen every single game or be converted every single game. And like maybe that's a holster and then a turnover. Like it's a 1-point game with some just fucking crazy shit that went down. And that third quarter, Colorado looked great. Nethercutt got hit on the arm as he released something, and the refs didn't call it. And then also the player who hit Nethercutt's arm didn't call integrity, and Nethercutt was like, "Oh, that was a foul." And then the Shred just like ran towards the end zone, and Nut was like pissed about it. He
yeah,
was
that's
like,
kind of
"That was
shitty.
like,
Because
I don't think
also,
a player needs." Yeah, you go.
well, I was gonna say Cody Spicer
Yeah.
reversed an out of the ref called a Shred guy out of bounds, and Spicer said no, he was in, and
Like
they
right away.
Yeah.
Like I
yeah
watched it. It
Yeah.
was like as
Yeah.
soon as the call was made, Spicer was like, no, 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 no. And it's like that's what spirit of the game is all about. Like when a bad call is made and like and it's literally that's a turn right there. Like
Yeah, no,
no,
and a
little things like
turn not
that,
that far
but
from the end zone that the Shred converted quickly afterwards. I mean, like I
there
don't
was
want to
there was a
say
lot of
that like
other there's a lot of
yeah,
other mistakes on the Summit's part.
the
Like it's
ref
not.
also should have. We could be mad at the Shred player for not calling his own foul, but the ref should have made that call. It was so clear, and the disc went like straight from Nuts' hands, like looking to throw a flick into the ground, like 2 feet in front of him, and like even if you didn't see the contact, like what is Nuts throwing it like this, and it lands a foot in front of him. He's not throwing it down. It's just like it was very clear that he got hit on that.
Yeah.
But that like really turned the momentum in that third quarter. And then I think on the next possession after the Shred broke, Nethercutt went deep and caught a disc, and the commentator was saying like he seems pissed. He seems like he would not have gone deep on that if he hadn't gotten fouled on that play before. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was crazy to see him cut deep. Yeah, we should probably move on. But any last thoughts?
They're both good. Both good.
Yeah,
Both good.
both
Both
good.
good. But Shred. It's time for us to like. They're legit. They're fucking legit. They're really good.
Shred.
my
We've been waiting for this.
This is what they needed to do. We've been waiting for this. They've been kind of middling in B. We moved them up to A last week, but this is it, man. This is what they had to do. There's nothing else they can really do.
My final thought, and Carp had this thought too when they lost, is that I think this might be a positive for the Summit. Like having the attitude of we're the best in the West, nobody can touch us, can kind of be bad. And I think that showed at like championship weekend last year. I think dropping a game to the Shred, like there's
Wake up call.
Wake up call, like competitive fire. Like I think that's it's kind of a good thing. Like, hey, we have things we need to fucking work on if we want to win this whole thing.
Is that their first home loss ever? Did they lose to the Growlers away?
Yeah, first home loss.
Pressure makes diamonds. Also I want to say I love when players don't call integrity when they make obvious fouls. I think that's awesome. Especially in like a rivalry game like this. I think that it makes the next game all the more intense. So I can't wait. Morally against it, but as an observer, I think it's fun. But anyway, moving on to the next big game of the week, which was Atlanta going up to New York and facing the Empire. this was a fun game to watch because the conditions were super nice and like all the throws were really clean. And honestly, I think that played to New York's advantage a lot. Because a lot of Atlanta's defensive looks were out the window. But I mean, personally, when I watched this game, I thought it felt closer than the score was throughout. But
I almost
I
felt
wonder
the
what you guys think.
opposite. I kind of
Yeah.
felt the opposite. I was just like, when I tuned in, I didn't tune in until the second half, and I was like, the Empire are winning, and it was just like, the Empire are good, and they are good, and they were ahead, and it was just like,
Okay, yeah,
I just
my
never felt it never felt like the Hustle were gonna like, get the break, get the momentum back,
I got that impression mostly from the beginning of the game, which like statistically the Empire started 8 for 8 on holds, but a lot of those early holds were like kind of iffy, kind of shaky, like bad conditions, like one more step, Atlanta gets a block. And then I mean on the other end, like Atlanta converting those break chances wasn't like didn't seem like it was happening, but I mean, I don't know. Mostly from the beginning of the game, yeah. Like after that first stretch, I think the Empire were just like, okay, we're getting what we want, and then they started to just kind of roll. But I don't know. I was optimistic watching this game that like a rematch hypothetically would be kind of close. I mean, as this game kind of sort of was.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with both of you in a weird way. I think the Empire looked like the better team kind of throughout it, even though I thought like it seemed close for it didn't seem like the Empire were ever going to run away with the game. But like even when the Empire would turn it over or would make a questionable throw that like maybe they came down with it, maybe they didn't, it still just like overall seemed like the Empire was coming down with, the better end of every play most of the time. But on the other side of it, like I think the Hustle didn't look like they had to try super hard against New York's D-line. I don't know, against a team that isn't as offensively efficient as the Empire, like this game is probably a tie game or not, if not like a Hustle win. I thought the Hustle looked like they scored a lot more easily than the Breeze do against the Empire. So I don't know. I kind of agree with both of you. I think the Empire looked better through and through, but I thought the Hustle really impressed me in this loss also.
Yeah, the Hustle were good, but I was just like, maybe if they could make championship weekend, like they really could, but I was just like, they're just not on the, they could be the best team in the South Division for all I know, but like it's not gonna.
Yep.
They were 3 points behind, and it didn't feel like, I don't know. Sometimes like I feel like in Frisbee, like 3 points. Like I think a 2-point loss can be like, okay, it was evenly matched, but this team's a little bit better. I think 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, kind of the same to me. I don't know. Maybe 3 points is better than 5, but like it just felt like they were in different tiers,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I didn't think that the Hustle D line looked anywhere good enough to compete with the Empire.
And that's kind of how every team kind of looks against the Empire. Like the Hustle are really good. Like but what does that say? Do we think that says anything about the Breeze, that the Breeze played them way closer, or is it like Atlanta traveled, it was a road game, blah blah blah? Like maybe that kind of makes up for the difference.
Yeah, my takeaway that I was kind of trying to articulate is like, not that I see like the Hustle coming back and beating the Empire, but more like I see a rematch, maybe neutral ground, like, or a hypothetical rematch in Atlanta looking a little more like a Breeze Empire game.
Okay.
Like I feel like Joe was saying, the Empire kind of came down with all these 50-50s, and like they're probably going to win all the 50-50s because they're the Empire, but I sort of give props to Atlanta for forcing a lot of 50-50 chances,
Yeah,
like most teams can't really do that.
Burnett got that D that Jack Williams ran down after the tip and scored in the end zone.
Yeah, Burnett had a crazy game.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, dude's a crazy athlete. Yeah. Oh, the one thing I was gonna say, it's like, oh yeah, I could like to your comment about like, oh, if it was at Atlanta, I could see like that matchup being more similar to Breeze Empire. And I'm like, well, what happened in that? Empire won that too. So
Yeah.
they're
Right,
still good.
exactly. My
But yeah.
my favorite moment of the game, I think it was like mid second quarter or something, and it was still like kind of a close game. And it's like a shot of the sideline of the Empire, and it's just Ben Katz, who at that point in the game had, I think, the only 3 Empire turns to that point, or 2 of the 3 or something. And he was just sitting there on the bench, like eating popcorn and like sharing with Jack Williams. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you guys deserve to do that. You can just like snack and chill out while you're like beating one of the top 5 teams in the league.
Yeah.
You should go to an Empire game and like bring like orange slices and try to get onto the team.
Yeah.
Man.
And shout out Osgard for 9 assists on the game. Holy shit.
Taking off his fucking hat. God
Finally.
damn.
Thank God. Thank
He admitted.
God.
He knows
Yeah.
it doesn't look good. We need to follow up with him, figure out why he was doing that in the first place.
But we all can pull off a hat, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'd say, I mean,
I would say all
yeah.
4 of us.
Just
We're a
take
hat
blue.
pod. We're a hat pod.
We're
Yeah.
at pod. Speaking of which,
Do you guys
if you
wear
look at
hats
this hat,
when you play?
Oh,
what'd you say?
I wear
Do you wear a hat
headbands.
when you play?
I always do.
60-40.
I'm a headband guy. I just want to keep the hair out of my face.
Oh yeah, Andrew, you do always wear the hat.
I wear the same fucking Biloxi Shuckers minor league team hat. It's gross now. I wear it all
Yeah.
the fucking time.
I still wear my
Sam, you
my
are Free Gulliver?
hat.
Yeah.
Free Gulliver.
I always wear it backwards.
That shit was so gross.
Go to it still is. Go to shop.freegulliver.com.
I've been wearing the Ringer the hat to like almost all frisbee.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
yeah.
You gotta show the
good.
merch. Actually, I was wearing our sweatpants to practice last week, and somebody asked me where I can get them, and I was like, go to our merch store, and they're like, okay. But then I checked our shopping thing, and nobody bought any sweatpants. So.
Oh, that
Damn.
You know who you are.
That's
You know who you
sad.
are. You're not listening to this, but you know who you are.
Speaking of going to practice, I was at like a pickup thing, and it's a guy that I already know, but I never told him about the Rowan McDonald stuff, but like he came up to me and he was like, dude, I saw you in like on the internet. And I was like, that's you. Like he saw the Rowan McDonald's reel. So I was like, wow, that's kind of the first time that's happened to me.
That's
So,
crazy.
it was a crazy feeling, but
yeah. Also, Rowan reached out to us and said he loves our videos.
Yeah, Rowan we kind of left him on red, but he was like, yo, where's part 3 of the AUDL game? And I'm like, we're sitting on a real good one where I run around and chase some geese for like a minute. So be on the lookout. But yeah,
Rowan McDonald style. Rowan McDonald style.
That's Rowan McDonald style, baby. I mean, we're gonna have to figure out like a new setup where like I could make more of those, but I just need to like get someone else to film me.
We'll
We just gotta get together more often.
Yeah, or we could just get together. You guys got to come down here.
Yeah, I do need to go back.
You guys could just come down here and we could just like get drunk and film some Rowan McDonald's.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
All right, back to business.
Easiest sell ever.
We've got.
Is there one more game, or should we just go tier talk?
I don't have any notes on this, but anyone want to say something about Flyer Soul? I tuned in sporadically. I noticed a lot of turns, and Duncan Fitzgerald had the most absurd bookends I've ever seen. And the announcers were incredible.
So good. So good.
Yeah, they had a moment where they were like, and the Flyers from the Carolina region of the United States. I was like, these guys are just like on fire right now.
Yeah, they're like Evan Costello calling it Austin Soul game.
Yeah, hey, if you guys are listening right now, reach out. We'd love to. I don't know what we do, but you guys are sick.
We should get all 6 of us to commentate a game.
Oh,
yeah, we'll just talk over each other the whole time.
Right.
My
Joe,
main thoughts about this were that the Soul looked like a team that will play Carolina competitively and never win, probably. But also they gave up Callahan in the first half, and you take that away. If they convert that score, this is a tie game. So like, I don't want to say like they'll never win, but they looked like a team that can compete with Carolina, which is, I think, a good thing. I don't think. I don't know. I don't see Carolina turning it over 20 times again against the Soul. I also don't see the Soul turning it over 22 times in the next game with the Flyers, but I see the Flyers being a much more efficient team in their next matchup.
Yeah. Also the 20-5 blocks is like not super exciting.
That's the shit I was talking about with the Summit in like the Summit's first or second game. And the Summit now have came out with like a shit ton of games straight of like 10 blocks for the 18 turnovers and have gotten like way more efficient with it. So 5 blocks for 20 turnovers. Yeah, not super what you want to see. But
there.
The Soul's offense looked really good. And like they've got a ton of nasty players on there. And I liked their jerseys a lot, actually.
All right. Go to shop.bultimate.com to get a replica Austin Soul jersey. But let's get into tiers now.
Last thing I'll say about the Soul, because I just had this up. The Soul have the most breaks per game in the league. So that's kind of cool.
Wow.
But
That is pretty cool. I think they've played Dallas or Houston twice though.
That's kind of that's a little bit deceptive. But then I was like, okay, what about opponents' breaks? How often do you get broken? How often does the other team break you? And it's the Empire with 2.14 per game. So there you go.
Oh my.
They're very good.
Before we switch to tier talk, just one thing on this game that Callahan, friend of the pod, Sasha, has tweeted that the new polling rules make Callahan's mean less. And then in the comments, he was talking about how the rules suck. And I think we've all talked on this pod. We all like the new polling rules. What do we think about one person who we truly admire, but totally disagrees with us?
That's weird because Sasha was like going off on Twitter. Like it was during the college season, and there was like it was like a foul or nah conversation. And he kind of went on this long thing about like, you got to let the defense kind of play. And like if you have all these, he kind of compared to like the NFL kind of having some more, obviously like with concussions in mind, but like it's kind of you see more fouls on the defense for like unsafe plays and stuff. And he was like, it kind of, makes defense harder. And that's a bad thing. And like, that's interesting to me that he's against this rule that makes defense, that benefits the defense. I thought he was kind of like a defensive dog mentality dude, which is not to say that he isn't. I think he totally is. But, I think the D needs like all the help they can get in the AUDL, like, everyone we've talked to, I've said this on the show a bunch, but like everyone's like, defense is so hard in this league. Like, please help me. Like, and anything to like pin the offense back a little bit, like makes it more interesting. Like, we're not going to talk about this game, but I want to shout out my boy, Ben Priest, in their losing effort against the Alley Cats. He had a sick fucking pull. And the Alley Cats like were on the back line of the end zone. They had nothing and they had to call a timeout to like set up their offense again. And like, I can't remember if they scored on that point or not, but like, that's huge. They like had to burn a timeout because of that. Like, that's great. Like, I think that makes the game so much more interesting. Like, makes it harder for the offense. I don't know. We all seem to like that rule. And yeah, it makes Callahan's easier to get, but like, I fucking love seeing Callahan's and there still aren't that many. So it's like,
I know.
Whatever,
it's
man.
Like, it does make them more common. Like obviously in club frisbee or whatever, they're like one in like, I don't know, feels like 100 games one will happen. But like if it's like one each week of the like 10 games, like that's
fine.
Cool. It's still cool. It's
That's
like
that's a good rate. I think it's a good sweet
Yeah.
spot.
I also just think like even if it makes Callahan's more common and like I think that's a good thing, but let's say it's a bad thing, like it's the only comeback mechanic there is now. That like pulling
Yeah.
from closer and now making offense a little bit harder. Like before, there's like 5 guys in the AUDL who can like pin you to a corner and give the defense a marginally better chance of getting a stop. But now, like, you still have to be good to like pin someone in the back of the end zone. But
It's
a
not
lot.
automatic. It's not.
No, it's not. No,
Yeah.
I think there's still like a wide variety. You can be a bad puller and you can like get it towards the end zone, or you can be a good puller and you can pin someone now with a back line and a sideline and like a double team. So I don't know. I think anyway to make it so like now there's at least a chance that you're like fuck Callahan. Like there's a chance that you can pull it well enough to just get a D and try to use the comeback mechanic. I think that's good.
Yeah. All right. Well,
He's not wrong though. Like it does
to save time, I'll summarize because I think we're trying to get to tier talk. Sasha, we love you, but you're wrong.
No, he's not wrong though.
and we
like,
hate you.
We
Yeah.
don't like your,
Yeah.
your opinions are wrong.
No, he like the fundamental
Yeah.
like principle of what he's saying is true. Like
The new
it
rules
does
suck?
make it does
No,
cheapen
just that the
value.
Callahan means less.
Yeah, the Callahan
That part
does
is
I disagree with
true.
that just entirely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
it's
I don't
true.
think I don't just because the polls are easier. Like for
It's
example,
easier to
that
pin it back.
Callahan that just happened was cause a shitty throw that went high. Like that wasn't because of the poll. You know,
I
like,
think
it was-
he's just saying more Callahans makes each Callahan mean less.
Yeah, and that's true.
Fine.
But is it a bad
Sure.
thing? No, there were.
But I did, yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I disagree with the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I think Callahans are good, but
I also don't think there's that many more Callahans.
there's not
Yeah.
that many more. It's
not
like
like they're
not.
happening
It's
all
not
the
an
time.
epidemic of Callahans. Like it's not at all.
So,
But yeah, like
All
I
right.
see. Like anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Let's move on. Into tier talk. Before we get to tier talk, I have one last comment. I'm so sorry, but I want to shout out Billy O'Brien for touching the pool before it got to the Empire. I want to shout out the guy on the Spiders who caught his own pass. And I want to shout out Max Shepard for getting a block and just trying to mac it all the way down the field. All 3 of which were against the rules, but I loved all of them.
Can we give them like the bad boy award like, for breaking the rules?
Most like stupidest way of breaking the rules.
What's the like Nathan Fielder scene where he's like, it's like in the hunk and he's like, I consider myself a bit of a bad boy. Anyway,
let's switch it up. Let's go bottom up this time.
Wait, real quick. I think
Uh-huh.
I just did. I don't know if this is 100% correct, but in my quick looking at stats, there were 18 Callahans last year, and halfway through the season this year, there's 16 so far. I think, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
so there's
So
less.
maybe about double.
Well, yes, but that's for a whole season versus
Full
a
season
half
versus
season.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
stupid. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
All
I'm
right.
still okay with that.
So
Same.
moving on, early in the Detroit game, I was like, you know what? We don't need a whole second mechanics tier. And then I think what happens with Detroit is they go into every game and they're like, this is going to be the one. We're going to win this one. And then they go in and they like, oh, they're playing a little game with the Thunderbirds. They're up a little bit, whatever. They're down by 1. And then they start to get down. They're just like, well, we're not going to win this one. And then they just like get broken 10 times in a row. Like they were down by 1 and then all of a sudden they lost by like 10. And obviously we don't have to talk about the issues with this franchise, but like, why don't you try to get as close as you can and then maybe, baby steps. But anyway, my conclusion was no, we're going to leave that as it is.
Do you guys think, like in theory, like they were leading at the end of the first quarter? Like in theory, if you can beat a team for a quarter, can you beat a team for a whole game?
No.
I don't think so. I think that's also just like bringing into question what the Spiders are. I think the Spiders come out and beat teams in the first quarter, and then there's just no way they're going to win that game.
That is a
Interesting.
scathing statement, but
I mean, it's against
you're
Shred
right,
and
you're not
it's against Shred and Summit. I
different
think that
caliber of-
Oakland's a great team, and
Yeah.
they just have a great offense, and they just don't have the ability to outlast A-tier teams. But regardless,
scathing, but fair. So Sam, are you saying we keep them in Mechanics too? I think Legion should be in Mechanics tier.
yeah, I think the Legion are markedly better.
Yeah, they only lost by 8 this week. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. And continuing this, is it time to bring the Nitro down?
The Nitro, this is
they lost by
exactly
18. Yes.
like, okay, let's go back to when they there was like, oh, they played against the Shred pretty good, and I was trying to say this like at the beginning, like we could pull up the footage. I'm like, guys, like the Nitro as the season goes, they don't fucking care, dude. Like they fucking suck, man. Like drop them down.
Marks
down.
isn't even playing this year.
He doesn't even give a shit, man.
There's no way
Nitro
they're bottom
suck.
of F tier and then they lose by 18 and they stay where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Landro Marks is like the Christian McCaffrey of fantasy AUDL this season. Like, taking number
Don't even
one.
talk to me about that.
What are you talking about?
He
Horrible
has,
number
he
one.
has
You
Leandro.
drafted him?
He's pissed. Yeah.
We can go back to again, like I like when you had the first pick and I had the second, I was so scared that you weren't gonna take him because I didn't really want him on my fantasy team because I knew
didn't want
that
him
he
either.
wouldn't play all the games. But it was like you kind of were forced to take him. And I'm so glad you didn't take like Oscar. And then I would have had to take him because it was like, how could I
Right.
let him drop to 3? But like,
Is this the free child effect?
that's what I
Probably.
was saying.
Probably.
This makes me feel so validated.
But like, why is Rafi Hayes playing so much?
They're gonna stop. I promise you, they're gonna because it doesn't matter anyway at this point, right?
I saw Rhino just release their roster, so they might be about to start.
They're already
really-
practicing now.
Yeah.
Truck's
right.
already started practicing. So
Too much mechanics talk, and we don't have a lot of time left. So
yeah, okay, move
All right,
on.
fair enough.
Stupid.
I just want to say shout out Aviators for like convincingly winning a game. That was refreshing.
100%.
And then not.
Oh,
but we can
Montreal
talk about
got fucking clapped. Do we want to make them the lowest in F tier?
Sure.
it.
Yes.
They got fucking clapped
Houston's
by
Houston's
Boston.
better.
He
Houston's
scored
better.
12.
Yeah, bump them down.
That's bad.
Honestly, like
That's
I would
at
not be
home.
surprised if the Legion were better. The Legion keep playing better than I
They've been
expect
doing
them
better.
to.
Yeah, they've been doing better since like
Who has covered more Ryan's lines? I think that's a good way to like suss out these bad
Good
bad
question.
teams. Who's covered more spreads?
I feel like that's way
I
too
think
much
it's
effort
probably.
to-
I think it's
It
probably
is.
Dallas.
We can't do it right now.
We'll do some
but
research this week.
Yeah, I
in
can
the
do some
future.
research later, but I think it's probably Dallas.
yeah,
Alright.
yeah. 'Cause-
Alright,
but also it's like
let's-
we think you're so shit, and then you're not so shit. So maybe it's
Yeah, true. To be fair, like the Montreal lines
Their
are like
lines are
5.5,
crazy.
and the Legion lines are like 11.5.
Yeah. What are we talking
All
about?
right.
Okay.
Toronto lost by 4 to Philly.
They-
I don't know. I watched that. Philly looked like the better team the whole time, and just never like really pulled away until the end. I'm not like moved about Toronto at all.
I don't think we move. I think Seattle's like a worse team still, so I don't think we need to move Toronto.
Yeah,
keep
Yeah,
them there.
okay.
Pittsburgh.
and with
Keep it.
that, Pittsburgh, like whatever, they
What do
did
you-
their job against Detroit.
Yeah,
Yeah, who cares?
Don't move them up. Rascals. I still think they're D.
Rascals,
They played well though.
They played well.
I think Rascals can be the bottom of the C tier.
I could.
Do we move them up after a loss? I didn't really watch this game, but I was surprised at the result.
I will say like it was like ideal Rascals conditions. You know, it was like crazy wind and like it was kind of an ugly game. And
Those
their wins are
Rascals
always
love that.
close.
They love
They
that
fucking
wind.
love it.
Those Rascals.
But I mean, I don't know. They played a competitive game with Minnesota, but again, like the Central Division is just kind of a clump atop the pile of shit that is Detroit.
Yeah, maybe they're. I don't know. I guess I'm looking at like. Well, I think Aviators I don't know what the C tier is going to move around a little bit, but I still
Mhm.
maybe don't think the Rascals are as good as some of those teams in the C right
Yeah.
now.
I think maybe keep them next to Pittsburgh because they did lose that opening week game, and like
Mhm.
they might need to be more convincing to like separate themselves.
For sure.
I think it's that in my mind, D is like really bad, but I just like always forget there's 3 tiers worse than D.
Yeah, D is honestly like fine. Like,
D
you're
is
fine.
just a fine team.
All right. Coldbirds didn't play this week. The Growlers lost to the Spiders by 4.
Are we saying the Coldbirds didn't? We're saying we saw the Hotbirds.
I don't know. We
feel
saw
like
a
we
mixture.
there.
We saw a mixture.
I think Philly stays fucking put. They didn't
Yeah,
do,
seriously.
They didn't do shit to sway the
I don't
needle.
want. Yeah, I'm not touching them.
All right, that's cool.
By the way, can I just say it? Most like chip on their shoulder for whatever reason that I don't know of like any team's like internet presence and the way that people talk, like Philly just in general, not even just the Hotbirds, but just like all Philly sports has such a chip on their shoulder. I didn't realize this.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
We've kind of been poking the beast without knowing it, but I'm like, oh my God, guys, like
They're just so fucking loud. Like, and they haven't done anything to like the stuff they say about their own team, like put respect on our name. It's like you guys won one game, one good
okay,
game.
yeah.
Should we talk about their
PUL
ranking?
team?
No, I don't even want to.
I don't even want to put my thoughts on that in public.
It was bad
because I don't want them to come for me again. I'm already over it. Like
I just don't want to like give them any attention to that because that was so stupid.
That was dumb.
Really at some point, I think we should get rid of the 2 birds when we see more games from them.
Yeah,
and move the hot birds down and eliminate the
And
cold
figure it
birds. I think we can keep them here for now, but
Yeah.
but I do think
we
we
still
should
don't know.
eliminate
We
them
still don't know.
and make them acknowledge where they actually stand, not where they're not where them at their best stands and them at their worst stands. I just want them to know that they're not the 3rd best team in the league.
Just get your shit together. Okay. Are we on a Growlers?
The Growlers. Right now? Yeah, we could talk Growlers, Aviators, whatever. I mean,
Aviators are better than the Growlers.
They are.
Yeah, I mean the Aviators went 2-0 against 2 pretty bad teams, but
good wins. They needed those wins. They played well.
Yeah.
Road games, those are tough. They did exactly what they needed. Remember last episode, I was like, shitty ESPN show would be like, is it time to ring the alarm bell for the Aviators? Like,
yeah.
And they did. They like I'm. You look at this. They released the standings, and obviously there's a lot of frisbee to be played. But like, if the season ended today, they're in the playoffs, right?
Oh yeah.
So they absolutely did what they needed to do, and I'm feeling better about them than I did last week.
Totally. It really does come down to those Spiders Aviators games toward the end of the season.
That's it. That's the season for them.
I think the Growlers might be out of it at this point.
Yeah, but I mean the Growlers and the Aviators, they played a 1-point game and the Aviators won. Like I'm fine having them be right next to each other.
It was a road game. It's
in like San Diego and LA.
West Coast is spread out, bro. It's far.
All right, whatever. But I'm not an Aviators believer. I need to see them like do well. Like I need to see them beat the Spiders. I think looking at their schedule,
I wasn't, and then now I'm more so, but I'm not all the way. But it was a strong argument that they made this weekend. All I think
about them is like they can do enough. Is where I'm at with them. I'm not like they're taking that 3rd spot. I'm more like I think they could, split with the Spiders in a favorable way. Like I was looking at their schedules, and they're pretty similar. They both have a Growlers game left. They both have one of them has a Seattle game, one of them has a Nitro game. And then one of them has a Shred, one of them has a Summit, and then they have 2 against each other. So it's basically probably going to play out the same way and then just depend on those 2 head-to-heads.
I think the Aviators...
I'm not like the Spiders are going to win both of those. Like, I'm not comfortable saying that.
I think the Yaters have a better chance than the Spiders to steal a game from the Summit or the Shred. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but like if you ask me, which one of these teams is more likely to do that, I think the Aviators have the talent to potentially do that.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the Spiders have a better offense, at least from what we've seen, but the Aviators have a better defense, which is like kind of crazy to say because their defense last year was not very good.
Lucas Ambrose.
Yeah, Ambrose
oh
looks great.
That guy blows my mind every time I watch the Aviators. He makes the most ridiculous plays. He is so fast and he jumps so high.
Yeah, and I think
he's my favorite player in the league. If their jerseys weren't so fucking ugly, I would maybe buy one of his jerseys.
They're growing on me a little bit when I see them in person, but they're not.
They were better last year. They were better last year.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, no, I think the Spiders have a good enough offense to beat one of those teams, but their defense is not good enough to compete for an entire game. Whereas the Aviators, I do think they have a better chance of stealing one, just because I think if their offense plays to its like full capacity and their defense just has like a normal good game, I think that they could definitely steal one potentially.
It's not out of the question. Like I think it's not
unlikely, but not out of the question.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig into B and C here because we kind of have to talk about it all at once, I guess. Boston lost to Atlanta and then beat the shit out of Montreal. There was a lot of central shit going on.
I think the Aviators should get the nod for like going 2-0 on a road weekend.
Thank you. Because the Glory are a fake team.
Yeah,
they're fake.
So
the
fake.
Aviators beat an F team and a Mechanics tier team.
Yeah, but
the Glory beat.
They showed improvement.
Yes, but so why do the Aviators get the nod?
Because
they
road weekend
just look like the better team. It's nothing about who won which games this week. The Aviators
for me, the
looked
vibes,
like a good team.
This tier list is about vibes, and the Aviators like turned their vibes around for me. Like I had worse vibes on them last week, and I have much better vibes on them now. And it just feels right to at least bump them up. That's my argument. That's my Ryan. You can disagree or disagree with that, but that's how I feel. You still think they're the same team?
I think the Aviators are a fraud of a franchise.
Wow.
What do you think? Hold on. What do you think about Boston, though?
What did I say at the beginning of the season? Boston's making the playoffs.
You said they were going to make the playoffs, but do you think they're good?
Like, dude, your opinion, you have a really skewed opinion here because I think to me, Boston was like, I was like, put them in F and keep them there. Like, fuck that. And then they played well enough, but like, dude, they haven't been tested. Have they played the Breeze or the Empire yet?
Yeah, they played one half of Empire.
One half against Empire, so we don't really know.
And they beat the Cold Birds.
Yeah, they beat the Cold Birds, dude.
They did. They beat the Cold Birds. They lost by 6 to the Hustle this week. They beat Montreal by 10. They also beat Montreal by, I think, 2. And then, I don't know. They may have another game or not. I don't know.
Warriors so fake, dude. They're so fake.
They're so fake. I think the Aviators have more upside. But, I mean, again, it's just splitting hairs in the C tier. I think they're both C teams right now, and that's totally fine.
I want the Aviator players to come after me. I want them to make it this podcast.
No, I like that. Dude, you keep standing by this conviction of Glory over Aviators. I respect that a lot.
Okay, let's go up to B real quick because I just
move the cats up. Do it now.
Yeah,
move the cats up.
Yeah, cats, for sure.
Cats.
I don't.
Move the spiders down.
I don't know how I feel about the spiders, and it feels weird to put them in the middle of the central clump, but it also feels weird to like move them all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Should we just move them like ahead of Chicago?
Cats.
Spiders beat the Growlers. What about like that?
Oh yeah.
What about that?
That looks beautiful.
Wait. Why did Minnesota jump over Oakland?
Because they're good question.
We had Oakland ahead, and then Minnesota beats the Rascals by 1, and Oakland beats whatever the Growlers by 3 or something, and then they get to jump them.
Yeah, that's fair. But also, I think it was weird that the Spiders were there in the first place.
I mean, maybe, but I still think that the Spiders have played competitive games in almost all of their games.
That's true.
They played a bunch of good teams. I don't think like
I'm just kind of going off of
I don't
like
know.
Andrew was saying. I'm kind of going off vibes. Like I think
I respect that.
I think
respect
head
that.
to head, I would pick Minnesota right now.
I just DM'd wind chill talk just to get their
Okay,
opinion.
we'll let
great.
that
great.
sit. They're impartial, so they can tell us who should be
I'm
ahead.
cool with I'm cool with that.
I think we'll leave Austin there because they seem to hit that like B ceiling in their game.
Yeah. Union. Are we keeping in B?
Oh, you want to move to C? Oh, they might
I don't
be
know.
a C team.
I don't know if I want to as much as like I think I would like to talk about it because I don't know really where I stand. They've lost to the Cats twice. They lost handedly to the Cats this time.
Yeah, I think they might be like noticeably below those other two teams.
I mean,
noticeably
I don't think
by
they should be right next to Minnesota.
standards.
I guess they
Right.
did go They went 1-1 against Minnesota, I guess.
Yeah,
That's
but it was
Minnesota's
that
only
weird
loss.
game. Like, I don't know.
Honest question. Like, what's keeping them in B tier for us right now?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know.
To me, they're looking more like the Chicago
Probably
Onions. Than the
Oh, clip that! Oh my god!
Get him out of B. That was
Subscribe
like literally
to the pod.
too
Oh my
good.
God.
Get him out of B tier.
When I think about them, I'm like they're the onions. That's how they look to me right now.
Wow.
Playing like the onions, not a union, an onion.
Damn.
Get
him out. Get him out of B tier. That was ironclad.
I do have to ask a question, and I'm gonna hate myself for this.
Fair.
But it's like, why is Minnesota 2 back from the Alley Cats when they have beat the Alley Cats?
Because I don't know. Because
Ryan,
I don't know about the Spiders.
That's a good question.
What kind of pod are we, Ryan? What kind of fucking pod are we?
That's a good question.
Here, if we move Chicago down, it's less weird to move the Spiders all the way to the end.
I agree.
What do you think about that?
Agree. I like it.
Okay, valid.
So
this is not related to results of this weekend. More just like we were probably really wrong before, and this is more accurate to vibes.
Why? Why were we wrong? I think the Spiders have
because we're dumb
an equal chance to the Aviators of making the playoffs. I don't think the Aviators win both of those games. I think Oakland might. I don't know. I think
Oakland still has better vibes to me. Oakland still has okay vibes.
So then why?
They almost lost to Portland though.
Why do the Alley Cats and Minnesota have better vibes than Oakland?
The fucking Cats.
All right, we gotta get
Minnesota.
out of this. We gotta get out of this C and B tier.
But
I just want to put it out there. We can get out of here. I just want to put it out there that I am anti this moving Oakland down, and that's all. I realize I am voted against here, but I think
Oakland
the number 2 team in B.
Oakland almost fucking shat the bed against the Nitro, and we've seen the Aviators just
and
shit on them.
And
Seattle. And we've seen the Aviators shit on those teams, and we feel about the Aviators. So what does that say about Oakland?
Andrew, check your Twitter.
Oh. Did Winchell talk it back to us, or is it my personal Twitter?
Winchell talk.
Oh shit! Wait, I don't.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay. The verdict is in. After yesterday's performances from both teams, no, the Spiders are better than the Wind Chill at this point in the season.
All right, we said they were. Oh, we said they were impartial.
Wow. All right, Wind Chill talk. This is because we respect y'all's opinion. You've seen more of the Wind Chill than us, but I will say this is as a DC sports fan. And I think Minnesota kind of has a similar thing where it's like, I love this team and I'm rooting for them and they're my team. And that makes me scared. And I think they're going to be bad and fucking blow it. So like, I think there's a similar thing going on, but I respect their opinion. I'm talking about.
Oh, you're saying you're saying that they're feeling
they're doing that.
Got it.
Winchell talks opinion. Yeah. So I take more stock in because they've seen more of the Winchell than I have. So
cool. So that does.
Joe, you're happy. You're happy with this, Joe? Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Are we all happy?
That
Ryan,
does leave us with.
Thank you,
with the Cats. That leaves us with the Cats 2 over the Winchell. As Ryan brought up, the Winchell did beat the Cats, but this is the imperfection of the tier list because these 3 teams are probably like that close, whereas
it was like game 2.
Other tiers might be like, spread out.
If we move Oakland up
Know
one
what I'm
more,
saying?
they're next to each other again. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think they're better than Indy.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll take what I can get.
I still don't know who they are. Yeah, I think they're the same as the Aviators, except more volatile. But anyway, whatever. A tier. We have a lot of work to do here too.
Yeah.
Shred beat the Summit. Shred over Summit. Where does every other team go relative to those two?
Hustle or not? Sorry. Hotbirds stay at the bottom for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Hustle stay next to them.
This
I
is
think
it,
Hustle
man.
stays
This is
next to
it.
them. You think this
This
is
is
it?
it to
How
me.
it
You think
is?
this is it? You
I
don't
think
think?
this is it.
That might be it.
I think this is it.
Is
All
that
right.
it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hustle beat
I like Breeze better than
Glory. Hustle
I think-
lost to Empire by more than the Breeze lost to the Empire.
Hustle. I think Breeze are better than Hustle in Philly. Carolina just beat the Breeze with kind of their more full roster,
Yep.
so
And
I
they
like
just beat the
that.
Soul.
Summit are really great. They're a complete team. They just lost to the Shred, who I think
No, by 1 to the
deserve-
Shred. Yep.
deserve to be put above them because they just beat them and they were already in A tier. So
All right. You know what?
Can I just say about the West Division? Like Summit Shred this game, I think it was like 15 turns to 13 turns or something like that. And like last year, we talked about all these West Division, how they turn. Like the Flyers Soul game, both teams had over 20 turns.
Mm-hmm.
Like this West Division, totally
windy
different.
game though. Windier game though. That was a
Alright.
windy game.
But fair, but like very low. What I'm saying is very low turns from the Summit Shred game versus last year. I think there was like a shit ton more turns, and I don't know the numbers.
I think both teams probably like honed in and like improved a lot.
Yeah.
And
Which
they're
is awesome to see. Yeah.
they're improving the narrative. I will still say I'm looking at team stats right now and like just total scores. It's like Shred, Soul, Spiders, Summit. So like we already have
Yeah.
three West Division teams in the top 4. So they shoot at more high scoring games. Like that
I think
still how the West plays.
I think the West has more possessions per game than any other division, and so both scores and scores against are higher just because
They just
I
shoot it
guess
more.
possessions are possessions are shorter, they shoot it more, so
You're not wrong though. I think those
Yeah.
teams have tightened up a lot and deserve
Oh,
to be
for
talked
sure.
about differently, especially the Summit and
Well,
the Shred specifically.
it's
Yeah.
also pretty crazy to
You're not wrong, Ryan.
have-
I'm not disagreeing with you.
yeah,
No,
necessarily.
it's crazy to have the West have all these high scores and have fewer turnovers than they did last year. They're just like improving efficiency everywhere.
Mhm. All right.
Yeah.
And if I can get one last thing in, I'm open.
I'm open.
I'm open.
This has been an episode of I'm Open. This is
Subscribe.
Fearless. Subscribe.
Subscribe now.
Subscribe.